But welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Being kind is the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, banking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And how's everybody doing today? Yesterday we looked at some wild Zionist bullshit. And if you go to the Discord, hey, Mask of the Red Death, good to see you again. You'll find some details on the unacknowledged source material of the Zionist bullshit that we were looking at yesterday, which was a hoax from, aptly enough, from the year 1984 called From Time Immemorial by Joan Peters. And actually, Norman Finkelstein, as a postgrad, before he began his never-ending cringe arc, actually exposed the hoax, and this is part of one of the many reasons he ended up being basically unemployable in the United States. So I dug up some stuff, some details about the just sheer magnitude of that particular hoax, and that's in the Discord. And it's also, if you check out one of his earlier books, Image and Reality of the Israel-Palestine Conflict, that actually incorporates a lot of the exposure of just how thoroughly full of shit that book was. I mean, it like literally made up a demographic study. Yes, Dershowitz, who, I mean, he plagiarized that as well. Like, not acknowledging Joan Peters seems to be sort of a Zionist propagandist hobby. Yeah, especially pointing out that it was plagiarism. I mean, in his book where he talks about it, he actually included some, like, top, like, Harvard guy, a specialist in academic ethics or something like that, that confirmed that yes, what Dersh did in his book did constitute plagiarism. Yeah, me too. That was a while back. So anyway, that if you missed yesterday, that's what we were looking at. A channel called TravelingIsrael.com, and whoa, it is a bad trip. Hey, bonsoir, Adrien, ça va? So, today, we've got all sorts of interesting crap. Yeah, his cringe turn came shortly after that. First, he started to call BDS a cult, based on nothing other than that it's an abbreviation. Started saying some liberal Zionist shit. And then, most recently, he decided to just, for, like, absolutely no good reason, other than that I guess it's the in thing to do, decided to be really transphobic in his most recent book. And he dignified Destiny with an appearance, with a debate that Destiny had never fucking earned. So, here we got a bunch of interesting crap. We've got various horrible Darman movies. We've got Caleb Muppet, Don't Be Normal, Be Exceptional. We've got Dennis Prager, who wants to remind us about the importance of class analysis, apparently. Oh, what did he say on This Is Revolution? I don't remember this. Hey, Riveroon. So, we've got some Muppet. We've got Pim Tool, DOJ Chief of Public Affairs, admits Trump indictments are a pervasion of justice. He still hasn't fixed that that title. He doesn't know what pervading is. Oh, that does not entirely surprise me. So, I'm kind of curious about Dennis. This is a short. Dennis Prager, the left, cares more about race than class. And it's like, oh no, this is not that.
From louderwithcrowd.com.
No. That was not what I was trying to do. Clicked the wrong thing. Yeah.
This is crazy. DOJ Chief of Public Affairs admits
damn it.
Trump indictments a perversion of justice, reveals lawfare involved.
No,
Absolutely crazy video.
Where is it?
Mug Club Undercover Unit released this video.
Shut up,
Tim.
Tim.
This guy's name is Nicholas Biase of the Southern District of New York. He's his official title.
There we go. Tim has shut the fuck up finally. Yeah, I know. A lot of people.
If I ask you as of this moment, what would you say you are politically?
I would say I'm a Marxist.
Wait, then what the fuck are you doing on PragerU? Who is this? Oh, Batya Ungar Sargon? She's a Marxist. Batya Ungar Sargon, let's just remember. Okay, her thing was, okay, for a while, the Forward, the sort of liberal Zionist, the liberal Zionist website, news website, had this brief moment when they were publishing actually some decent, like, anti-racist stuff, and then Batya Ungar Sargon took over, and took it on a hard right-wing Zionist turn, and just basically fired... yeah, that's probably just from my speaker. This is Dennis Prager, of PragerU, and... yeah, he is funded by the Koch brothers, so obviously when he wants to give us a Marxist analysis, it is offered in only the best of faith. Oh, that's Batya Ungar Sargon, who is the former editor of the Zionist Daily Forward. I'd never actually seen a picture of her, but essentially she took it on a hard right-wing Zionist turn after it had spent like a year or so publishing almost decent stuff for a while.
I didn't expect
But now
that.
apparently she's a Marxist, which is a new twist. Like...
I have to admit, I had a feeling this was going to go in directions I had no idea. This is the sort of Yogi Berra moment when there's a fork in the road.
Look, I mean, as always, the dog is just cringing his gourd out. The dog does not want to be there. The dog is just looking away, as far away as he can get from these two jabronis without getting in the fire. Like, the idea that she's now calling herself a Marxist, yeah, I share fucking Dennis Prager's bewilderment.
Because that is what we call a fork in the road. You're a Marxist.
No,
You're kidding me.
She's the kind of Marxist who will be on PragerU, which is also another way of saying no, she fucking isn't one.
No.
So wait, so are you to the left of the liberal I would have met 10 years ago?
On some issues, yes, and on some issues, no. No. So when people criticize critical race theory, for example, and say it's a Marxist ideology, I kind of want to laugh because...
Okay, I mean, I hate to do this. Worst person you know has totally valid point. But yeah, and it's actually kind
The
of...
problem with today's left is an insufficiency of Marxism, and by that I mean they don't care about class. And I really care about class. I think the number one threat to American democracy...
Wow, that's such a very Marxist way of... Yeah, I mean, it obviously isn't. It obviously isn't, but yeah, I find it's actually... Oh, nah. Yeah, it's obvious. No, Marxists can cackle. I've known Marxists who cackle. But she ain't one of them. But, like, okay, where the hell is this going?
Is the enormous class chasm that's opened up between the college-educated and the working class.
Wow, that's such a Marxist analysis right there. Yeah, I mean, see, I mean, this is a real... You remember that part of Capital, I'm sure, everybody. Chat, you remember this, where Marx explained... no, it was in the manifesto. That the world is breaking up into two mutually antagonistic classes. The college-educated and the working class. Like, yeah, that's...
And I think that the entire working class has been deplatformed from American society. They have no voice.
I mean, yeah, absolutely, but you're part of that. You're absolutely fucking part of that. Like, and why are you telling us that? Why are you going on a fucking Koch brothers website to talk about this bullshit?
Political life, and I think that's extremely dangerous. And because my analysis of our problems are class-based, I call myself a Marxist because that was Marx's point of view. Now I don't.
Oh, so that's that. Wow, that's very deep. So she just sort of, okay, yeah, please do, give us some dialectical materialism here, fucking Batya.
Don't accept his solutions. And things like critical race theory, the use of the sort of Marxist binary between powerful and powerless that you now see in gender and in racial discussions, I totally...
Wait, she thinks this is new? Like, where the hell, like, she was the editor of a fairly important publication. You'd think that, a news publication. You'd think that she might have noticed things like this has been a discussion for a very long time.
Totally reject that. I think that is
yeah, absolutely,
totally
Mask.
corrosive. You know, I'm religious. It's so against everything my religion tells me about what makes us human, what makes us Americans, what makes us... worthy of God's love.
What the fuck does her religion tell us about what makes us Americans? I mean, I will admit I am not exactly a fucking yeshiva graduate here, but I don't remember there being all that much in the fucking halakha or the Talmud or anything like that about, like, U.S. nationalism and U.S. fucking nationalist identity.
But at the same time, I have to say, I think that my analysis of what ails us is quite Marxist in nature. There's a...
Well, like, are you gonna define any of this? Like, I mean, she's just using the word Marxist. She's gonna go on fucking... No, she's a Zionist. She's cool with that. He might not be. I mean, this level of Marxism really does work as a sort of an opener for Caleb Muppet telling us not to be normal.
There's a spiritual component to it, but there's also an economic component to it, and I think that that should be the focus of people who care about the American family.
What the fuck is this jacket she's wearing, incidentally? Like, is this thing just not a jacket? Is this like a non-jacket, like it wasn't finished being sewn? Or is she not wearing it and she's draping it over? What the hell is that? What is this thing? Like, wear a jacket or don't wear a fucking jacket. This is...
I want to see them talking about economics. I'm going to ask you about that as well.
Okay, let's
but-
do it. Let's do some materialism. Explain your materialist analysis.
So I would say, yeah, in some ways I'm further left on economics, but not in a way that today's left would recognize. They believe in welfare. They believe in handouts. They want the working class to essentially belong to the poor. They want to sustain them.
See, yeah, okay. So, and what's she about to say? Chad, help me guess where the hell this is going. She just said she's a Marxist, but not in a way that the left would recognize. She's more left of the left, but the left wouldn't recognize it, and I'm curious what she's about to tell us the solution is, because I'm guessing she's not about to tell us the solution is communism.
And support them. They want rich people to sort of basically underwrite the existence of everybody who's not as rich as them. And I think
no. Wow, this is so fucking Marxist, though. Because that's what Marx said. He said that the rich are actually just underwriting the existence of everybody who isn't rich, like the poor, by exploiting them so that they are poor and rich people accumulate wealth,
that's really insulting and gross.
I get you. I really do get you. Let me just say, forgive me one moment. So I really want to just address for a moment those watching. I studied Marxism. That was my field of study, and communism and the left. So I can explain in very briefly what is involved here.
Ooh, okay. Now we get fucking Jeff Prager, Dennis Prager, explaining Marxism to us.
And you are certainly free to react, but I understand everything.
No, fuck that. I'll be reacting.
You just said, and here is what it is. Marx divided the world by class. Hitler divided the world by race. Communism and Nazism had everything in common except that.
Communism and Nazism had everything in common except for their fundamental difference on how to look at the world and what conclusions to draw from it. Wow, you can tell this guy went to school for this. Well, I mean, you don't get that kind of analysis at KMAT.
They both exterminated vast numbers, tens of millions of people. They were both vicious. They were both pure cruelty. They were both totalitarian. But they weren't the same philosophically. And what the Marxist / communist view of the world is the proletariat versus the bourgeoisie, or
fucking hell. Dennis Prager managed to find somebody to sit opposite him who knows less about this shit than he does.
Class difference, and Hitler, it was race difference. The left today, ironically, and you're certainly free, you know that, to differ with anything or modify anything I say, but the left is closer to Hitler's totalitarianism than to Stalin's, because they do divide the world, not by class, but by race.
Yes, because, I mean, if there's one thing that we all know that, the Nazis were really big on, it was opposing racism. See, this is why I hate it when, politicians and other assholes will be like, we need to have a big national, freewheeling, open, robust national conversation on race. And it's like, no, we do not. Absolutely fucking not. White supremacists love to have conversations about race. What we need to be talking about is white supremacism. We need to be talking about racism. White supremacists don't like talking about racism because that makes them the subject of the conversation rather than the definers of it. Wow, this is such a trenchant analysis.
Wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
feel that too many people are compared to the Nazis and to
Oh, I'm not
Hitler.
comparing. No,
So
I'm only doing it philosophically.
Oh wow, he's only doing it philosophically. It's only a philosophical comparison. Yeah, I mean, the dog continues to cringe.
There were no death camps. There are no concentration camps. People aren't.
Oh no, well there are. You're kind of a fan of them. Last I checked, I haven't. I mean, your channel, your YouTube channel, your fake ass university has done many videos on how actually the concentration camps we've got aren't bad enough. I mean, and what the fuck is Gaza if not a death camp at this point? Like, seriously. Like, I mean, see, he brings that up. He says, "Oh, there are no death camps, there are no concentration." Well, there are, but the people that you're comparing to Hitler are opposed to those things, and you're for them. So if we're gonna do like 2 degrees of Hitler, Dennis, I feel like maybe you're within the 2-degree limit.
Tortured to death. I fully
overflow facilities.
Acknowledge
remember.
that. I'm only talking philosophically.
The obsession with race on the left today is reminiscent of the worst people that ever walked planet Earth. I completely grant you that. But I think you too, by my definition, are Marxist, and they're
no. Wow, well, we're just this is the magic of the fucking Dennis Prager cringe fireplace. You can just make words mean whatever the fuck you want. You know, like you can be 2 white supremacists, be on a platform funded by oil billionaires, and you can just call that Marxism. Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost churlish to point out that you can't separate the philosophical from the rest of the analysis. It doesn't... and, I mean, like, you could also add that if you're going to, like, make the comparison, you have to look at what people actually do, rather than absolute fucking generalities. Yeah.
The reason I think that is because when I listen to you talk about COVID and about the way that the government used this as an excuse for the greatest upward transfer of wealth in American history from the middle class to the disgustingly wealthy.
But I thought the class antagonism was the working class and the college educated, Batya. Like, you're not being very rigorous right now.
When I hear you talk about the impact the lockdowns have had...
And why is she called Batya, incidentally? Like, did her parents not know that that's Ukrainian for daddy?
How they benefited...
I mean, okay, if it works for you, it works for you, but...
The laptop class... and penalized and turned...
The laptop class. Wow, we're getting really materialistic. When I use a word, Humpty Dumpty said in a rather scornful tone, it means just what I choose it to mean, neither more nor less. The question is, said Alice, whether you can make words mean so many different things. The question is, said Humpty Dumpty, which is to be master? That's all. I decided to make Alice from Belfast. Yeah, she went to COVID, and what she's describing here, I mean, she's just kind of skipping over this bit, because the upward transfer of wealth happened. It absolutely did. Profits went through the roof. Dennis Prager celebrated it. He was advocating all the things that made that happen, which is to say, stopping any kind of public health measures and requiring sacrificial workers to go back to work.
The working class who sustained that class with their labor into, lepers, forced them to bear the burden of the risk and then treated them like dirt for having done so, enforcing all of these mandates on them.
So the idea is that it would have been treating them better to not make a pretense of protecting their fucking health. I mean, and you can see, I mean, really, again, wonderful, wonderful class analysis here. Two fucking super spreaders in a room, no fucking mask on. Although, really, you have to remember that actually a lot of the time, just because you don't see an event involving a bunch of rich people wearing masks or taking precautions doesn't mean that they're not doing it. There are event organizing companies that specialize in low visibility infection control. In fact, I mean, one of them has the White House and the DoD on their client list. So for all we know, these two have actually had negative PCR tests and the lot, as they tell a bunch of rubes that they don't need to.
That's a Marxist analysis of where we failed. That is a class-based analysis of the way in which the pandemic impacted different sectors of American society differently. And so I think you too are.
She's so impressed with herself. I mean, she's so excited about the things she says. She's it's like she's her own primary school teacher. She says a thing and then she has to go effusively praise herself for having said it.
Well,
a Marxist.
No, I don't have any issue really. I mean, I have a lot of issues with Marxism.
He has a lot of issues
in other aspects, as I know you do, because you just said you did. So, in light of that, you might call Donald Trump a Marxist.
Well, why the fuck not? Why the fuck not? Everybody's a fucking Marxist. Everybody's a fucking Marxist. All the right-wing ghouls. Why not? We're fucking calling Dennis Prager and Batya Ungar Sargon a Marxist. Why the fuck not, really?
I say I'm the kind of socialist that Donald Trump was. I thought his
so a national one. I mean, that fits since she is a massive Zionist.
Economic policy was spot on. I thought it was great for Black Americans, for Hispanic Americans.
You know, what's funny is that they disagree with you on that.
Lowest unemployment in Black American history.
Which means nothing.
I thought that getting rid of NAFTA was fantastic.
NAFTA hasn't been gotten rid of. NAFTA's still there.
I thought the trade war with China was fantastic. I love these tariffs. I think his economic policy was what Bernie Sanders would have implemented had he won either of the elections.
You think Bernie Sanders would have implemented?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bernie Sanders in 2015 was asked by Ezra Klein, you care about the poor so much. Shouldn't we have open borders? Shouldn't we care about the global poor? And Bernie Sanders laughed in his face and said, open borders? That's a Koch brothers proposal.
Which it's so hilarious. Yeah, he did say that open borders are what billionaires want, which is just fascinating to me because he never gets around to explaining why it is that this is the one thing where the billionaires don't get what they want. I mean, they get every other fucking thing they want. If they want to, buy up a social media platform and turn it into a personal masturbatorium, they get to do that. But, for some reason, they want open borders so badly, and yet the borders get more closed every fucking day.
They want nothing more than have an open border.
He hasn't said a word.
Yes, he did a 180 when he was running against Trump. So that to me is a bellwether. The left used to be like Bernie Sanders. They used to be anti-immigrant.
No. Actually, that's almost right. You got it backwards. Bernie Sanders used to be a lot more like the left. If you go back to the 1970s, 1980s and see what he was saying on pretty much anything, he was way to the left of where he is now because he made a deal with the Democrats in order to get into the Senate. And part of that involved going to the Kennedy School of Assassins, where the School of the Assassins, School of the Americas or WinSec, whatever. it's called now, except for to teach them to do PR. And he went out having discovered how wonderful imperialism really is, and managed to get to be a Democrat in all but name, so in exchange for voting with them on everything that mattered.
Because they understood
anti-illegal immigration.
Anti-illegal immigration, anti-mass immigration, because they understood the fundamental and obvious truth that you can't have a wage floor if you have an unlimited supply of low-wage labor.
Well, but you can. You literally can, but you can't do it if you have laws in place that are designed to ensure that people, based on nothing more than where they come from, don't have access to any kind of labor protections, can be deported if they so much as breathe the word union, and are generally put in a position that makes them totally disposable. I mean, you can certainly do it. It has to do with you organize the fucking working class, like the whole fucking working class.
That used to be the left's position.
No, it
Today,
didn't.
if you have that position, the position they had 30 years ago, they call you a white supremacist and a racist.
I mean, also, that's the thing. Like, a lot of the left's positions 30 years ago sucked. Like, in fact, if you go back, even, there was a lot of white supremacist shit to pick out.
You see the shift in who they're talking to, who they care about.
Big tech said.
Okay, there we go. So everybody's a fucking Marxist. Well, I mean, Donald Trump's a Marxist, Dennis Prager's a Marxist. Like, we talk about the importance of renewable energy sources, and it just occurs to me, if you put that video, you go to Highgate Cemetery. And the first thing you do is you put a big magnetic coil around Marx's casket. And then you loop that video around just on an endless loop. And the way he will turn in his grave so much that he will power the entire electrical needs of the world. Okay, here we go. This is going to be Caleb Maupin telling us not to be normal.
I'm going to talk about something.
Wow. He's going to talk about something, y'all.
I am at the point with CPI, the Center for Political Innovation,
where you're hanging out with Moonies. People that you actually quite correctly denounced as an anti-communist CIA front cult.
Adjusting as an organization. We are adjusting as an organization very dramatically because we have to. We have to get the job done, and the ground around us is changing, and if we keep...
They're adjusting. Okay, this should be interesting. I want to know what the adjustments are.
We keep going the way we're going, we won't be up to the task. And we are carrying out some very dramatic adjustments in our organization. And one thing that I have learned is that sometimes when there is an issue that just keeps coming up, right? That just keeps being raised one way or another.
What's the issue gonna be? What's the issue gonna be, chat?
It's coming up. The best thing to do is just take it head on and just dive right into it. And this is an issue, and I guess, as
he changes. Sorry. If you watch the background, he films on this background all the time, and the Communist Party of China Ideological History 3-volume set is always there, but the books that he puts on top of it change each time. This time he's got some book called Woke. Oh, Woke Ouroboros. It's Peter Coffin's shitball.
Disagreements in the past, as there's been people that have struggled and frustrated. This is an issue that has come up a number of times. And it's not just in the Center for Political Innovation that this has come up. It's in our wider circles. It's among anti-imperialists in general. An issue arises.
Which one?
And that issue is the question of normal. How do we reach normal people? Are we normal people? Should we strive to make ourselves?
How do you reach normal people? Are you normal people? I would say probably no. And don't try.
More normal. Are we freaks? Are we weird?
Clip that, chat. Clip that.
This is a whole issue that a lot of people...
Like, I'm actually... I may have to redo the JabroniCon intro to include a bit of this.
Get stuck on.
I knew this was going to be good.
Get stuck on this issue. And
hey, if somebody wants to do a bingo card for Caleb and post it in the Discord, we will use it. If it's like, if we've got a good bingo card for each of the jabronis that is a regular on this stream, make them. We can make them in the Discord, and I will put them up on screen, and we will play fucking Caleb bingo or whatever. I think that could be fun.
Lot of problems among people that are anti-imperialist, among people that recognize that Russia is right in Ukraine and the NATO regime in Kiev is wrong, among people who realize that Taiwan is China, among people who sympathize with North Korea rather than South Korea, among people that realize that the U.S. invasion of Iraq was based on lies, the destruction of Libya and the killing of Gaddafi was an atrocity, among people who realize that this global system of imperialism is holding back development around the world and that these wars are waged to protect big banks and oil companies, there is an ongoing identity crisis that a lot of...
Okay, Caleb is having an identity crisis. Yeah, exactly. What about those of us who say, actually, fuck the fascist NATO regime in Kiev, which a lot of people in Ukraine actually also say, draft dodging is the national sport. I mean, if you listen to comrades in Ukraine, not fans of Russia, people who actually have nothing good to say about Russia at all, what they talk about is how, people are constantly, all the efforts people go to escape from the country so that they don't end up fighting for this fucking shit-ass regime, which now doesn't even have, the pretense of an electoral mandate. People who say fuck them and fuck Putin, who say that the best possible outcome is if this actually causes both of those shitball regimes to collapse.
Out of us face, and we need to just face it head on.
And and the U.S. as well. I mean, why not have a fucking hat trick?
Not a simple thing. There are some attempts to give a simple answer to these questions, and when people attempt to give simple answers,
what is the question?
It hurts them in the long run. And so we need to talk.
This is on 720. Does he not have autofocus on his webcam? He's in the center of the focus, and he is so fucking blurry. It is actually giving me a little bit of a headache to look at him on full screen.
The issue of normal. Are we normal? Do we want to be normal? How do we talk to normal people? What we need to address.
What the fuck are normal people? What does this jabroni think normal people are?
Talk about it. Because I've seen a few people with great potential get stuck on this issue.
Not much of a question. I mean, obviously the answer is not to be. I think he's partial to having normal smack him on the ass, actually.
Lately, and it has destroyed them politically. They have deteriorated into more or less living biologically. Over this issue, they get stuck on...
Wow! Interesting. Chat, those of you who remember reading all the people who blew the whistle on CPI Mark I, which kicked him out, one of the things he said to one of the members of CPI who he managed to manipulate into being in a position undependent on him paying for survival sex work, And when they tried to, they needed to get an actual, a job that paid better than fucking spanking his nasty ass, he said, no, you gotta decide whether you're living biologically or whether you're going to be in the movement. I don't want to know anything about fucking Caleb's movements. But, I mean, so that I haven't seen him actually use that phrase before, but here it is. Oh, I don't think he thinks that Hinks and Jackal is normal. They fell out. God, I don't want to think about it. I don't want the fucking mental design prompt of Caleb up and getting a fucking reach around in my head. Thank you.
On this issue. And I would say the bulk of anti-imperialists that get caught up in wokeism are also stuck on this issue in their own way, and they go in a bad direction. And that this is an issue that we just need to take on head on. So I'm going to start out.
See, that shirt is a choice. What is this shirt?
Like
why is this shirt?
And I feel like this should be common sense, but it is not.
Ooh.
And I'll just start out and say that as the founder of the Center for Political Innovation...
Yeah, the founder of 2 Centers for Political Innovation, don't sell yourself short.
As the ideological leader of the Center for Political Innovation, I want the best for you. I want you to have a happy life. I want you to have a good paying job.
I have never been able to figure out what it was. All I know is that that fucking Caleb did this video walking through JFuck Airport, talking about, I am not Jackson Hinkle. I am nothing to do with Jackson Hinkle. Whatever Jackson Hinkle is doing, that's his thing. And stuff like that. And he never got down to what exactly the thing was. I think it was something to do with Andrew Tate. I feel like I heard something to that effect, but I really don't know.
I want you to have a spouse that you care for. I want you to have a family that you get along with.
A spouse that you care for. Wow, that's he's such a romantic.
Have friends who you can rely on and trust. I want you to have a good, happy, comfortable life.
Hey, Helsatine.
I want you to be confident. I want you to love yourself and be proud of who you are. I want you to be an effective communicator. I want you to be able to win the respect of other people.
Jesus, okay. He is actually, I see what the adjustment is, because this is way more culty than his usual shtick.
I want you to achieve great things. I want all of those things for you. And
is he gonna do a song now?
Those things for you? Well, first of all, I want them because I'm a nice guy and I have basic human empathy. And if there's
he has to tell people that because it's not readily apparent. You actually do need to. He does need to tell people he's a nice guy who has basic human empathy, because you would never guess.
Anybody that I wish goodness towards, it's the people that are part of my community, right? I mean, if anybody that I have good wishes and well wishes for, it would be
he's about to set up a fucking compound, isn't he?
You all, right? But I should, in basic, morality, you want the best for everybody for the most part, but those you are close to, you're much more invested in them doing well, so I want the best for you. However, in addition...
Then, fix your autofocus, motherfucker, because you're making me cross-eyed, and that is not the best for me.
To me, wanting the best for you, I have another interest in it, which is the better you do, the better we do. The better of a person you are, if you have a good paying job and you have a stable life, you'll be able to be a much more productive, active member of our group. The more that you
Well, that's interesting because previously he had really not wanted people to be like the word the term living biologically enters into his discourse because he didn't want people to have an actual income that could sustain them.
Are able to effectively communicate with other people and maintain healthy friendships and relationships. Why? The better of an organizer you'll be, and the better you will be at bringing people into our organization and recruiting people.
So
the more that you are a respectable, admirable person, the more that you have achievements, the better our whole
the less likely you are to want to stay in this fucking club.
Does. And so, in addition to just my basic human solidarity and well wishes towards you, and
he does mean basic
comradeship for you, it is in the interest of the Center for Political Innovation for you to do well. I want you to be confident. I want you to be successful. I want you to have love in your life. I want you to have meaningful relationships. I want you to have success at your job. I want you to excel in
he's gonna do a musical number
every possible way. I want that for you. Firstly, because I care about you and I'm a human being, but second of all, because
this is so impressively parasocial. He's doing this on a video to, his group is maybe 30 people, and he's beaming this out to everybody. And wow, that's a face I gave him there. There's a freeze frame. It is just so impressively hollow. You could make a jack-o'-lantern out of his well wishes.
In our organization's interest for you to have that.
That's so touching.
Now, why is it necessary for me to say that?
Because you'd never guess otherwise.
Oh, unfortunately...
Oh, here we go.
There are other types of movements and organizations and really fandoms that really don't want that for you. Now, how is this related to the question of normal? It's related. We'll get to that, but bear with me.
I don't think he's ever getting to normal.
There are all kinds of movements and organizations that don't want that for you. Now, why don't they want that for you? Well, they don't want...
oh, wow. He's trying to do... He's trying to do a cult binding here, where it's I sound completely insincere, like a complete asshole, and I always seem to be scolding you about something from my tone of voice, but I actually want the best for you. Unlike those motherfuckers. That's why you gotta be in here.
That for you. Because the way they are set up psychologically is to cultivate dependency.
If I'd known this is where this was going, I would have the fucking, the whistleblower statements from CPI Mark 1, where they talk about how he was cultivating dependency, including deliberately making somebody lose their job so that they would be dependent on him personally, and how he became people's landlord.
There are a number of organizations, and specifically a lot of internet fandoms, that are set up to cultivate people's dependency, to make you reliant on a certain social media influencer or a certain organization.
Yeah, he would never do that.
For your whole social circle, for your any self-esteem, for your livelihood. They're set up to make you reliant on them. And in order to do that, they don't want you to excel. They don't want you to succeed. They definitely don't want you to be confident.
Well, it seems creepy coming from him. I think, honestly, an organization that actually genuinely, where there is an ethic of, care and solidarity, and people genuinely do want each other to do, well in their lives, and at the same time, do well collectively, and actually support them in doing it, that's not a bad thing. That can be a really good thing. What's creepy here, I think, more than anything, is that he very clearly, there's absolutely no affection, there's no sign of care in the way he speaks. He sounds like, this motherfucker could be a character from The Office. Yeah, he's making it completely about himself. It's not your relationship with other members of this group. It's not your relationships with me and with your comrades all between each other. It's specifically his benevolence toward them. Yeah, exactly. That is creepy. Yeah, absolutely.
They want you to be under their thumb.
Some of them, for example, might put in the bylaws of their organization that they are the undisputed ideological leader of the group, and that therefore nobody else can ever challenge them for that.
And that basic dynamic that I'm describing here. I want the best for you. I want you to be successful. I want you to be strong and confident. I want the best for you. Some other people, for a variety of other reasons that are very self-serving, and on top of that are very non-productive, are not going to get us any closer toward defeating imperialism.
Yeah, well, as opposed to you selling fucking merch and speaking to the Moonies. Because the Moonies are famously anti-imperialist.
They don't want that. And that needs to
And just for anyone keeping track, what he's doing here, it's not that there aren't organizations where you could say this of. It's not that. But the fact that he creates this sort of situation where it's my cult is the only one that actually legit cares about you and cares about what we say we care about. And all the other ones, I'm not going to name names because I want you to generalize it, they're all fucking evil, and actually they don't want any of this to come to anything. There are plenty of organizations like that. PSL, the Socialist Workers' Party in Britain and the US, really, both shitball cults. But he's not, calling out specific groups here. He's, specifically making it this is the only place where you will find what you're looking for. And since he specifically targets people with no history, no background, no experience in these organizations, there are people who will not immediately recognize this. A red flag seems like a really odd thing to use in this case, because the last thing you would actually expect is a legit red flag from this lot. We'll call it a brown flag.
This entire conversation. Because, let's just face it, if you live in the United States of America in the year of 2024, and you are politically...
That's me! I live in the United States of America in the year of 2024. He's talking about me!
...enough to have studied the Ukraine conflict to realize that Russia is right, and the Kiev junta installed by the United States is wrong, you're not normal. And if you are somebody who has studied world history and come to the conclusion that Stalin was a good guy, you are not normal. And if you are somebody who has studied the history of the Korean Peninsula and thinks that
Caleb hasn't,
Kim Il-sung and the Korean Workers' Party have done some good things, you are not normal. It is abnormal.
Wow, he was almost in focus for a second there.
An anti-imperialist in an imperialist country. The bulk of the population is pretty tuned out of politics, for the most part. And on top of that, the people who are political tend to be pro-imperialist in one way or another. Now, there's a growing section of the population that are skeptical,
I see what the adjustment is now. I see what the adjustment is now. Now, see, because what he's doing is saying, because previously he'd like to just repeat incessantly, out of the movement into the masses, out of the movement into the masses. There's like video, we watched it on stream like a few months ago, where he just says that like 20 times in a row. And now he's basically saying, yeah, actually, maybe kind of fuck the masses. And maybe don't deal with them, maybe sort of separate yourself out from them, avoid having relationships with them because they're normal and we're abnormal. And I mean, it is admittedly way too easy.
Are alienated, that are highly distrustful, and that's a good sign in a way. But I mean, I am not going to pretend.
If they're highly distrustful of this dickhead, then I mean that really is a good sign.
That being an anti-imperialist in the center of an imperialist country and having anti-imperialist consciousness makes you normal. It's not.
Did anyone think it did?
Normal. And that's fine. It's absolutely fine. Because normal people don't have Wikipedia pages. Normal people don't have world records in the Olympics. Normal people don't write books. Normal people don't travel around the world to important international gatherings. Normal people don't do a lot of the things that part of this movement empowers you to do.
Have a Wikipedia page.
Right? You are who you are because you are unique. You have seen the truth. You have been.
Oh wow! Okay, we're deep into cult shit now.
Truth and learn the reality of the world around you, and that says a lot about you. It says that you are open-minded.
It says that you are a complete rube. A total mark.
Minded in a way that others are not. It says that you are knowledgeable and deeper thinking in ways that others may not be.
Oh yeah, okay, here, I mean, what he's doing here, again, this is very much cult shit again. Because what he's doing is cultivating a sense of superiority, a sense of being set apart from the rest. Yeah, an elite consciousness. He tried to do that with those fucking rings that he gave to his inner circle in CPI Mark 1 that didn't go over all that well in the end because actually even the creepy fucks that he gave it to in the cult thought it was kind of fucking creepy. But that's what he's doing here. I mean, he is just moving, like, have we... Yeah, this is like the most cultish of the lot. He is absolutely, like, he's absolutely just moving this in a very, like, very traditional cult direction. And, I mean, and the more I'm looking at this, the more I think, you know, he said that thing about, like, getting a compound in the woods with the kids and shit. And, I mean, that is definitely the trajectory he is on here. The truth that weird ass green shirts, like, where the heck? That shirt is not normal.
It says that you've been exposed to certain realities and that you have life experiences that have opened you up to hearing certain perspectives that other people have not had. And none of that is an indictment of you. None of that makes you a bad person. In fact, all of those things are strong arguments in your favor.
I just couldn't help noticing that I found a camera angle that I quite like.
Sure. And I think that you're ahead of the curve if you can understand the way.
Wow! So if you're in his cult, that means you're ahead of the curve. You understand things. Like, I mean, this is giving 25-year-old guy chatting up 14-year-old.
World actually works. You can understand the evils of American imperialism. Right? If you can understand the the benefits of a rationally planned economy and socialism. I mean, not all of this is good.
Yeah, they are sound.
I think it's all very, very good. It shows that you're ahead of the game. If you were quote-unquote normal, you wouldn't be able to enjoy these broadcasts.
Can anyone enjoy these broadcasts? I mean, other than just straight up hate watching them and taking the piss? If you weren't normal, you wouldn't be able... If you were normal, you wouldn't be able to enjoy these broadcasts. Wow, there's another fucking clip right there.
If you were quote-unquote normal, you wouldn't be fun to talk to. I might get bored.
Wow, I mean, and he's an authority on who's fun to talk to because, wow, I mean, he's a fucking laugh riot.
Having conversations with you. So I don't really want to
yeah, broadcasts. Yes, these broadcasts. Because, I mean, God, I think it was like Thought Slime said that he somehow manages to seem really old and really young at the same time. And when he says things like that, the broadcasts, like it's a fucking newsreel or some shit. Like it's Imperial Pathé.
More about... I'll talk more about that later on, about how I don't really want you to be normal. But the question is, what do we do with this realization that we are not normal? What do we do about it?
Oh, I can't wait. What do they do about it?
That's the question. Because the standard way that leftists deal with this is something that I have actively fought against.
The standard way that leftists deal with what? With the realization that you're not normal? Like what is he talking about? Deal with what?
In fact, the whole basis of our community and our organization, out of the movement to the masses, has been a rebellion against the standard way that leftists used to talk about this.
How is it a rebellion against the standard way that leftists talk about this? When, isn't that a Lenin quote? I have a feeling that you may not be the first person in the world to quote Lenin.
Because the standard leftist approach is to condemn the society we live in, to condemn all the people around us as sheeple.
The standard, if that's one thing that leftists love to do is say sheeple. Yeah, I mean, that isn't even like, that is something that like Fash said back in like 10 years ago. You don't even hear Fash using that anymore because I think they realized that people were having too much fun making fun of them for it.
As a bunch of complicit imperialists, white settler colonialists, were bought into this evil system and think that you are somehow morally superior.
You just got done telling people they're morally superior, though.
And feel condemnation and isolation from the society in which you live. That is the normal way that people respond to this.
He's telling us a lot about himself tonight.
When I was around the Revolutionary Communist Party, right, we would encounter people when we were selling newspapers who would say, F you, and, you know, get away from here, you commies, why don't you move to some other country?
I'm sure they said it as boredly as he just said it, too. Get away from here, you commies, why don't you move to some other country? I can't even bother to think of one. I did not realize, this is the first time I've heard him say he was actually in the RCP. Which is another fucking cult of personality for somebody who doesn't have one. I mean, I know he was in the WWP for a while until he got kicked out for being reactionary, but I'd never heard that he was in the RCP.
And what we were told was, America is the most evil fucking country that has ever existed. This is the new Nazi Germany. These people go along with their government murdering people in Iraq and murdering people in Central America. and we don't fit in here, and it's an honor to be spit on by the American people because this is an evil fucking country and this is an imperialist hellhole, and we are the ones.
I mean, it is an evil country. It is an imperialist hellhole. And I mean, if you like being spat on, I guess, I mean, maybe he does. Maybe that's one of his other things.
With the morality, we don't consider ourselves to be Americans. We burn the American flag. We take pride in our isolation. That is the mindset of the Weather Underground. That's the mindset of the Revolutionary Communist Party. That's the mindset of a lot of the woke left nowadays. America's an evil, racist, settler white country.
I mean, it is like all of those fucking things, though. It is a racist, white settler colony.
America is a country founded on racism, and people who wave the flag and people who just live their lives are complicit in empire, and they're morally bad because they're not part of the woke movement, and they're
on a certain level, yes, we all are complicit to the extent that our governability is what all this shit depends on. To that extent, to the extent that we can actually potentially do something to change it, yeah, we're all culpable. We are all responsible in that way. Now, he's like, okay, I'm getting whiplash because he started out talking about like this sense of superiority that members of the Creepy Pricks International should feel, and now he's taking this in another direction.
Along with an evil system, but we, the enlightened few, we are the correct ones. We are morally good, and this country is going to fall apart and burn down, and we'll set.
I mean, it isn't. Let me just say, it isn't not falling apart and burning down. You really would be hard pressed to look at this and say that the place is actually in good shape. I mean, like, we managed, you look back on fucking Katrina as the high point of disaster response in the 21st century United States. Like,
laugh and go, ha 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 ha, we knew it was evil all along. Yeah, burn with it, you evil, racist white settler. I mean, that is the Weather Underground mindset. That is the mindset of the new left of the 1960s, 70s. That is the mindset of wokeism. And that mindset is toxic. That mindset is toxic. That mindset is not helpful. And that mindset, it leads to depression and demoralization. It leads to hopelessness. It leads to all kinds of very, very bad things. It is not a healthy way of being.
So what are you suggesting?
Most of the left culture.
How are you going to do your moral superiority kick differently?
Moral superiority, contempt for the society you live in,
Then what the fuck is this? We're not normal. Normal people. You just did a whole thing about we're not normal. Normal people suck. Actually, normal people never get in Wikipedia because that's like a high fucking watermark of achievement right there. Wait, does Caleb Maupin have a Wikipedia page? Because that could be fun. I gotta know. He's got a rational wiki page. Oh. He does not have a Wikipedia page as far as I can tell. He has, however, check this out. He's got a rational wiki page. See, normal people don't get a rational wiki page. This is hilarious, though. Wow, this is beautiful.
Negativity. And That ain't going to get us anywhere. That's not helpful. And that's going to lead us to be isolated. But what will that lead you to do if you think that way? It will lead you to separate, to more and more isolate yourself.
He's doing an impressive split right here, because like he started out with this whole, basically telling people they're all superior, they've seen the light. It's proved by the fact that they're in the fucking CPI and everything. And now he's saying this. It's like, where the hell is he going?
To cut off your friends, to cut off your family. To be
people
isolated
have said that he
on the internet, all by yourself. And I must say, a lot of social media cultivates this mindset because it's in their interest. They don't want you to go and have a healthy relationship with your friends, have a healthy relationship with your family, have a good job or anything like that.
Well, I mean, like having a... What's your fucking job, Caleb? It seems like capitalism doesn't want us to have good jobs, actually. Because if capitalism wanted us to have good jobs, there would be some.
Well, if you do that, you're not home alone watching them. Right? I mean, they want you to cut off your parents or your friends.
Now, it's worth remembering that people who blew the whistle on CPI Mark 1 talked about how he tried to separate people from their family unless their family members were being recruited into the cult.
Relatives, because they're Trump supporters. Cut them off. They're racist.
Well, they are.
Speak to them again. You support genocide. Your free speech is genocide. You're a Trump supporter. They want you to cut off your leftist friends who disagree with you about the trans thing or disagree with
you about the trans thing. Like, okay, remember, if they're in the CPI cult, then their take on the trans thing is basically like fuck trans people, essentially. So I don't think they need to cut off anybody as a result of that, because they will be the ones getting cut off for their take on the trans thing.
About this or that, or don't use the right pronouns or whatever. Cut them off. I disavow. They want you to get in your smug, moral, self-righteous place and cut and cut and cut.
He's in his smug, moral, self-righteous place here.
And isolate and condemn and condemn and condemn. So you're all by yourself, and it's just you and your phone. And they've got
you're describing the fucking people watching you right now, though. Do you realize that, right? Like, nobody who has anything... Like, nobody who has satisfying relationships or anything exciting to do in their life is going to sit and listen to this dickhead for an hour and 23 minutes and 25 seconds droning on about how you're actually abnormal.
You're right where they want you, and you are consuming. You're consuming their content, and you're becoming more and more triggered by their content.
Yeah, that's not what that means.
More and more scared, more and more threatened. You're more afraid of the world around you. You're more alienated from your neighbors. You're afraid of your neighbors. You're afraid of your family members.
It's interesting. Did you notice how the specific people he does not want his cult members to be alienated from are the ones who hate trans people and are white supremacists? Did everybody catch that? He didn't say anything about, like, they want you to cut people off because they're trans or something like that, which is, an actual thing that happens to trans people all the fucking time. He didn't say anything like that. He was specifically saying that that it's a bad thing to cut people off because they're fascists.
All by yourself, and you think the world isn't going anyplace. I don't want you to feel that way. That does not benefit me in any way. It doesn't benefit the Center for Political Innovation in any way.
Well, wait a second. I mean, I would think that actually, if you're an organization that at least pretends to be revolutionary, and he does pretend to be revolutionary, he does pretend that that is a thing he wants. Why, if you think that the world's great as it is, you probably would not want revolution. That's just generally not the demographic that goes for revolution. People who are kind of cool with how things are generally don't want things to change fundamentally. But of course it's also true that people the CPI does not want things to change fundamentally as well.
Way for you to feel that way. And the idea that we are the moral few. We are the moral few. The idea that, we want to celebrate our difference. I think there was a slogan, freaks are revolutionaries and revolutionaries are freaks. We don't want to be normal in this evil society. That's where you started out. That doesn't lead any place good. But it's very convenient.
That's true. It doesn't lead any place good. It led us to this part of his fucking speech. It did not lead us to better content.
To social media fandoms. Very convenient for them. Right? They get to be the voice on the internet, the only one to really understand you, the only one who's there for you.
Motherfucker, you just spent your first 15 minutes of this thing was talking about how you're the only one who actually cares, you're the only one who wants people to do well, you're the only one who wants people to have satisfying relationships and whatever, and be married to somebody that they tolerate.
I mean, that's why
freaks
I
like
pointed
dentists.
out
Good.
Stefan Molyneux,
Nice callback.
The right-wing commentator who appealed mainly to young white men was not that different than woke people. Right? His program, which I listened to, and I had than woke people, the right-wing. Right? I mean, that's why I pointed out that Stefan Molyneux.
Oh, I backed it up because I missed which white nationalist he was about to stand.
The right-wing commentator who appealed mainly to young white men was not that different than woke people. Right? His program, which I listened to, and I had a debate with Stefan Molyneux.
Did he?
His program was really not that different than woke stuff. It wasn't that political. If you listened to his program, it was young men would call into the program to talk about their breakup with their girlfriend, to talk about the fight that they're having with their parents, to talk about something that happened in their life. And Stefan Molyneux, with his British-Canadian accent, would talk about how you've been treated unfairly.
Well, yeah, that is actually rather political. The whole thing is very political. Because what he's moving them into is the idea of, some sort of sense of white supremacist grievance. And okay, I do have to give him credit for his fucking Stefan Molyneux impression. Actually, when he's doing the Molyneux voice, he's actually much easier to listen to, I have to say. I haven't heard enough Molyneux to know if that's an accurate impression, but it's just so much less grating than his normal voice. He should just talk like that all the time.
You have trauma in your past, and I'm the one who understands it, and it's because you're a white man, and the world is out to get white men. And the world is just unfair to you, but I'm here for you.
Motherfucker, this is just a version of how you spent the first 15 minutes of this thing doing.
I care for you. I'm the one voice who understands you. So give me your money and cut off your friends and family and don't speak to them. Just listen to my program. Just buy my products and give yourself over.
And join my cult.
Because I'm the one who understands your trauma. I'm the one who understands your pain. That's Stefan.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I blocked him. And then he tried to put me on blast on Twitter. He didn't have my Twitter ID, so he just, posted a really unflattering fucking still from that stream. I bet if you go down, if you scroll way down in his Twitter, you'll probably find it. I had already blocked him on Twitter before that, so that I would not actually have a chance of being put on blast. But he took a screenshot of me blundering a rook because I was playing chess at the time on stream. Minutes before I actually saw what he'd written or that he had even shown up, and then tried to sell that as me being terrified.
Right? And, you know, I thought it was weird when I debated Stefan Molyneux, in his closing statement, he started talking about spanking. And I'm like, what?
I wonder why.
The world is this man talking about? Well, there's a reason he does that. That's a traumatic experience. Many young men.
Oh, you think that's the reason he brings it up in a debate with you, Caleb? That's what you're going with.
Go through, right? They were physically punished growing up, you know, they got the belt or whatever. And part of his manipulation is that these young men would call in and he would...
This is so great because, I mean, Caleb Maupin would never try to manipulate people in anything related to spanking.
Tell them about how they were abused, how they were victims, how no one understands them. They would relive a very traumatic, painful experience. And then he would say, it's because you're a white man. And it's because... And he would use it to attach himself to them and isolate them and control them.
You mean sort of like your shtick about how they're not normal because they've actually seen the light.
What he was doing was aimed at young white men.
Which is... No wonder you're annoyed with him. He's competing for the same fucking demographic.
But it's not that different than what a lot of queer-oriented social media does. It's not that different than what a lot of, people of color or gender and sexism and anti-patriarchy feminist material does. It's about activating your trauma, having you relive things in your life that went wrong, times that you were mistreated, times that you were unfairly, playing up that that's because no one understands you.
No.
Except the person who's trying to exploit you.
Except the difference... See, there's a difference. This is like... I mean, it's funny. It's actually fitting that we watched that fucking train wreck with Dennis Prager first. Because he's doing the exact same thing they were doing, where Dennis Prager's like, well, you know, communism and Nazism, they're basically the same thing in that they both involve a society, see? Now, their philosophy's kind of different, but other than that, if you don't acknowledge... I do a very bad Dennis Prager, I think. If you don't acknowledge that their ideas and what they do are totally different, they're basically the same thing. And what he's saying is that Stefan Molyneux, like, manipulating young white dudes into, like, white nationalist grievance politics is the same thing as people who actually are, you know, marginalized and oppressed people talking about the experience of that and, organizing in part based on that. Like, that's the exact same thing to him. That is so telling.
And then telling you to give everything to the person who's trying to exploit you and isolate and be more and more triggered and more afraid of the world around you. It's a very, very nasty form of psychological manipulation. And this is largely how woke politics works.
Yeah, it's how other people work. Caleb would never fuck with you in this way. Like 10 minutes ago in this very same stream.
Right? And it's very, very damaging because the person is not healing, right? The way you heal is you have better social relationships. You make...
Or, like, a better society, actually.
friends in places you didn't think you could make friends with. You go into uncomfortable situations and you learn how to handle yourself. You develop more confidence, right? It's not helping the person in any way, but it's about getting the person attached to this kind of toxic social media influencer, triggering them and isolating them.
I don't think he knows what triggering means. But I just noticed the time, and it is time to wrap up. Let me say, I think Riveroon had an amazing idea with the bingo cards, and I think that should totally happen. And if anyone wants to, have a go at making a bingo card, or, discuss it, we'll do that in the Discord. And if somebody comes up with a good bingo card, post that shit in the Discord. We will use it. We will play like Kayla Bingo, or PragerU Bingo, or whatever you come up with. You can make a lot of them. It could be fun. So thank you for that idea, Riveroon, and I hope that it is Riveroon who had that idea. It might have been Raven G. I'm terrible with names, actually, especially when they're similar. But yeah. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I think it was. I think it was a very abnormal stream. We had an experience that was exceptional, not normal. And if you, we can. Let me just drop the link to the Discord for anyone in chat who isn't in there and would like to be. Oh, a retail service bingo card? That sounds very cool. Actually, as a union organizing tool, that's kind of a very cool idea. A specific workplace bullshit bingo. Specific to the field that you're in. That's actually kind of a neat idea. It's something to hand out if you're trying to get somebody, interested in a union or something like that. That could be kind of cool. But I will be back on next Friday at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, and perhaps we'll continue with this. I'm kind of curious how the hell he wraps this one up. God, share that in the Discord. That sounds really cool, actually. That would rock. But okay, with that, it is time for me to turn back into a seagull and steal somebody's chips. Have a good night. And, don't, be abnormal, but not the way he wants you to be abnormal, because I think that's probably fucked up. Good night. Good luck. And fuck Xander Hall.